And for more insight, we are joined now by Niall Stanage, White House columnist with our partners at The Hill. Niall, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you too, Natasha.
So, Niall, why should the average American care about this date of the caucuses, January 15th?
Because on the Republican side, if someone wants to beat former President Trump, that's the day they're going to have to do it. That provides easily the best opportunity to derail Trump's run for the nomination. He is the strong favourite right now, and he did lose Iowa back in 2016 to Senator Ted Cruz, his first run for the presidency. So for various reasons, including the strength of evangelical voters in the Republican Party in Iowa, Iowa presents that opportunity to Trump's rivals. On the Democratic side, frankly, it just isn't as important because, as for the reasons that Joe mentioned, it isn't officially sanctioned this time around on that date by the Democratic Party, the Democratic National Committee.
Okay, I appreciate that. What do candidates need to do in 6 months? Is it enough time? Because on the GOP side, you know, Trump has that double-digit lead over Governor Ron DeSantis right now.
It's going to be very difficult to topple him. But what you see already, Natasha, is candidates putting a lot of chips on the idea of doing old-style retail politics. And that does matter in Iowa. Iowans expect to see candidates in their town, in their suburb, and they expect to see candidates up close. I covered Nikki Haley doing a few events like that in comparatively recently. Other candidates are doing the same thing, hoping that they can build momentum in those grassroots events. It's worth saying also that while former President Trump is way ahead right now, Iowa does have quite a record of upsets on both sides. I mean, it was a big surprise when then Senator Obama beat Hillary Clinton back in 2008. Mike Huckabee on one occasion won in Iowa when Mitt Romney was much more the sort of establishment figure. So there is that record of upsets that Trump's rivals can look to.
Yeah, at this early stage, is there a Republican candidate who can win Iowa who is not Donald Trump?
Well, I guess Governor DeSantis' team would say he can do it. Obviously, Governor DeSantis has been rather plateauing in the polls recently, and there's been quite a bit of criticism of his campaign. It is, I think, fair to say that the polling can change a lot in the last 4 to 6 weeks before the caucuses. When people really start tuning in, really thinking, who am I going to caucus for, then we can see the polls change very, very rapidly. We have seen a history of that in both parties. In addition to the examples that I just mentioned, there's a host of examples where people come on strong in the last stretch in Iowa. So Governor DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Mike Pence, all those candidates will be hoping that that turns out to be them in this cycle.
Yeah, I have 2 more questions for you, Niall. You know, I want to ask you about that. There was a lot of buzz about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at one point. Are we watching his campaign lose its way, and why?
It has certainly been underwhelming at best. I mean, Governor DeSantis is actually trailing former President Trump more now than he was before his campaign began. I think there's a perception that he has not been that impressive on the campaign trail, but there's also a question about the central rationale of his candidacy. That rationale, in his view, is I can enact Trump-like policies, I can get things done better than the former president. There isn't a lot of evidence that the Republican electorate is buying that argument right now. Having said that, I was speaking to his team and his allies just in the past couple of days, and they argue that he does have strengths in fundraising, that there's a long time to go, that they're building a campaign for the long term. We'll see if that's right, but you are certainly right that his campaign has not lived up to expectations at this point.
Oh. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.